I want to talk about something that I don't see a lot of photographers talk about, and it's something that just happened to me recently on a photo outing. I think it happens a lot more than people realize, but it just wasn't working. Hey, good morning, guys. We're out here this morning, here at the river. I originally came out here this morning for some bald eagles, but they are not wanting to show themselves this morning. So I'm gonna pivot a little bit. We're gonna do some landscape photography, or attempt to. We'll see. It's, as you can tell, it's pretty brown, but we're gonna make the best of it. Let's see what happens. So one of the things I first stumbled upon is, I know this little wood bridge is here, but I'm not gonna lie, did not realize there's a little tiny waterfall coming from it. What I think I'm gonna do, as you can see, there's a curve that goes along up to the waterfall here. And I think I'm gonna attempt to try and curve an image to kind of follow that curve, so your eye follows up into the waterfall through the image. I'm gonna do a little bit of slower shutter speed, let that water kind of fall and kind of get a little bit of silkiness to it. So this is currently what I have set up for a shot, or roughly, right? So you can see the line coming from the bottom right to curve up around the waterfall. And I'm gonna take it at 1/13. I'm not gonna use a tripod. I think what I'm gonna do is kind of set my camera on the ground, put a 2-second timer on it, and then let the photo take itself. That should prevent it from getting any jitters from me pressing the shutter button. So let's see if I can do it. So I think we might get a little vulnerable here today. I want to talk about something that I don't see a lot of photographers talk about, and it's something that just happened to me recently on a photo outing. And it could happen whether you're on a trip, whether you're just out on a photo adventure around town, but I think it happens a lot more than people realize. You have a plan that you're going out with, you know what you're trying to capture, but it's just not working that day. So you have to pivot a little bit. And that's what I want to talk about, because it happened to me recently in the last few weeks, where I had planned on doing a certain type of shooting for a video for YouTube, but it just wasn't working. It wasn't going how I wanted it to go. So while I was out, instead of wasting an entire trip, I decided to pivot a little bit and shoot something different. And the results that came out of it, I really enjoyed, because those results meant something to me. So I still ended up editing the photo that I took while I was out with my digital camera. But the thing is, I liked it, but I wasn't loving it. And to me, the more I looked at it, viewed it after I edited it, I liked it even less. And to be honest, I actually posted this photo on Instagram because when I first edited it, I actually really liked it. But the more I looked at it, the more I thought about it, the more I didn't like it. And to be honest, I took it down from Instagram, because I don't want to post things that I don't love when I do. And it's hard sometimes, because you try to love everything you do, and sometimes it just doesn't work out. There's another image that I took a few days ago that it actually stopped me in my tracks, because the way the sun was shining, the subject was illuminated by the sun. It was a great composition. It was a great scene, but I was struggling with it because there's just no color. This brown season that we're in Michigan makes it very difficult to really get good color photos. Not saying it's impossible, it just makes it very difficult. But this one I didn't want to give up on, because it was a great photo. I just didn't like the color. So what I ended up doing was I turned that one into a black and white photo. That made all the difference. I think sometimes we have to think a little bit differently when we're trying to see the final picture of an image. And this is a good example because I was struggling to get it edit in color that I liked for this photo. I turned it into black and white and I fell in love with this photo. The sun coming through the clouds, illuminating the horse in the foreground. I think the black and white actually adds to it rather than color. I'm very happy with the way this one came out because it looks great in black and white. All right, so I also brought 2 film cameras with me today. This one I got a couple shots of Portra 400 left. This one currently empty, but I'm gonna end up putting this in there. This is Fuji Color 200. This is actually my grandfather's, and this is probably over 20 years old. So this is gonna be an experimental roll. No idea how it's gonna come out, so we're gonna have fun with it. For those of you that have actually seen my first ever YouTube video, you know that my grandfather was one of my biggest influences of getting into photography. He's the one that showed me the love of photography. And so what I decided to do that day was pivot from digital photography and actually start shooting a roll of film that was his. And this was a Fuji film, Fuji 200, that he just never got around to using. So it was a 20-year-old roll of film that belonged to my grandfather, but I decided to shoot it myself. If you've ever shot expired film before, you know film loses sensitivity the longer that it's not used. So with this being an ISO 200 film and it being 20 years old, I ended up shooting this at a 50 ISO just to make sure I gave it a little bit more light. And I'm glad I did because it actually came out pretty well. The colors on this roll came out beautifully, better than I expected on an expired film. And this is the first time that I ever have shot expired film. And when you go into shooting expired film, you have to really think of this as an experimental roll. You have no idea how this film is going to react, how it's going to take color, light, anything like that. So when I was shooting this, I decided to shoot it just around town, just things, sights that I see every day. Because it was an experimental roll, I was just shooting whatever I saw. So with the basis of that covered, how I shot it, why I shot it, see the results. And since I've never talked about how I get my film developed, I actually use a company called The Darkroom. So I send my film rolls that I've shot to them for them to develop. They send the negatives back to me, completely developed, and then I scan them myself. I enjoy scanning my own negatives because I have a lot more control how I convert the negatives than if I just get scans sent back to me. So I really enjoy scanning my own negatives and having complete control. Okay, now let's get into the actual photos. First photo that I want to talk about is sometimes my favorite photo of all the rolls. It's the burn photo. It's the very first photo on each roll. Sometimes you get really lucky. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. This one, it was okay. It's not my favorite burn by far, but as you can see, it is the same location that we started the video. It's that bridge right next to the river. So you can see exactly where I made the pivot of, okay, I'm going to do film today because the digital landscape stuff just, it was not working that day. Now for these photos, I went to a little town close to us. It's called East Grand Rapids, and we're always there. It's just a few miles from our house. So it's a really cool little downtown area with some really cool buildings right next to a fairly large lake. So a little bit of diversity of things to shoot with this film, especially not knowing what type of colors, lighting I'm going to get out of this expired roll. So I wanted to have that diversity of subjects, of styles, to really make sure I can really understand what this role is going to provide in different situations. I tried to play a lot with the shadows from the sun. It was a bright sunny day. Some of these first shots are from the storefronts in this little town. One of them's a little pizzeria. A lot of people always go in and out of this place. I have a few of my favorite black and white from a role that I took recently there too. There's also this ice cream shop that we frequent quite a bit. The side of the building is a bright red, so another color that I can really understand how this film is going to showcase that color. A lot of this film, I really used a lot of the light and the shadows around the town. I really looked for the long shadows that were present, how they were playing off of the buildings, how the sun was playing off the buildings, and then we also walked towards the lake. I wanted to get a little bit of nature photos, whether it be a landscape or whatever was there. So we took a walk over to the lake. Again, it's still fairly brown out, so there's not a lot of color in the landscape. We also walked to the woods across the street, snapped a couple pictures there of my wife looking for birds, because it's what we do now. We're always looking for birds. But overall, it was a really cool experience to be able to shoot the film that used to be my grandfather's. You know, he never got around to shooting it, but 20 years later, I was able to take it out and shoot it for him. You know, he was a big part of my life. He was a big part of my photography journey. So to kind of continue his legacy in photography while being able to use his own film stock is pretty special. And it all came about because I just wasn't having a good day with my digital camera, whether it be the birds I was trying to find that day or the landscape that it just wasn't given anything. Being able to pivot and really try something that I've never done before while making it special because it was my grandfather's completely turned the day around. It was a really cool experience to use expired film, and it was some meaningful photos, not because of the subjects, but because of how they were captured. So I hope that kind of helps show that sometimes it's not all perfect every time we go out to do photography. Sometimes we have to decide to do something else because our original plan doesn't work, and we really have to be adaptive on the types of things that we do and how we do it. This is just one of my experiences. It happens quite often that you never really get to go out and capture the thing that you really want to, but you go out and capture the things that are there and present or in a different way that maybe you don't normally do. So I hope you guys enjoyed seeing a little bit of a behind the scenes of a failure, essentially going out and photographing, but I'm turning it around into something that was actually pretty meaningful. Really enjoying doing these videos for you guys. I hope you're enjoying watching them, and I'll see you guys in the next one. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.